Okay, y'all, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is wild. Picture this. My own family, my parents, my brother, stood in my living room, doused my $10 million lottery ticket in lighter fluid, and set it ablaze right in front of me. Why? Because I refused to hand over half my winnings to bail out my reckless brother, Ethan, who's been bleeding them dry for years. But hold up, the twist that came next left them speechless, and trust me, you'll want to hear it. I'm Olivia Harper, 32 years old, and just last month, my life flipped upside down in ways I never imagined. So, stick with me for a story that'll blow your mind. If you're as shocked as I was, smash that subscribe button, hit like, and let's dive into this craziness together. Let me set the stage. I'm just a regular gal from Wilmington, North Carolina, working as a nurse, scraping by with $100,000 in student loans hanging over my head. One random evening, I bought a lottery ticket on a whim, something I barely ever do. Next thing I know, I'm staring at 7 matching numbers, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. $10 million. That's life-changing money, right? I thought it'd be my ticket to freedom, pay off my debts, buy a little house by the beach, maybe even start something meaningful. But my family? They saw it as their personal ATM, especially for Ethan, who's been chasing one failed get-rich-quick scheme after another since he was 18. What they did to force me to share was beyond anything I could have dreamed up. And when they lit that match, thinking they'd won, oh, they had no idea what was coming. Keep watching, because this story's got turns you won't believe, and I promise, it's worth every second. What would you do if your family tried to burn your dreams to ashes? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into it. So, there I was, still reeling from that moment at the beachside cafe, my phone screen glowing with 7 matching numbers that promised $10 million. It felt like a dream, but before I get to how my family tried to turn it into a nightmare, you need to understand where this all started. Growing up in Wilmington, North Carolina, life was simple but never fair. Our little coastal town was all salt air, fishing boats, and tight-knit neighbors, but inside our clapboard house on Oleander Drive, there was a clear pecking order. My younger brother, Ethan, was the golden child, and I was always playing catch-up. From as far back as I can remember, Ethan got the red carpet treatment. When he turned 16, my parents scraped together every penny to buy him a shiny new Mustang, even though we were barely making ends meet. Me? I got a bus pass and a lecture about responsibility for my birthday. Ethan's big ideas, his crypto startups, his NFT flops, were celebrated like he was the next Elon Musk. His posters and business plans were plastered across our living room walls. My nursing degree from UNC Wilmington? Shoved in a dusty box under my bed. I worked double shifts at the hospital to pay for it, racking up $100,000 in student loans, while Ethan's ventures were bankrolled by mom and dad without a second thought. It wasn't just the money. Every family dinner, every holiday, the spotlight was Ethan's. If I mentioned a promotion at work, mom would nod politely, then gush. Did you see Ethan's new business pitch? He's going places. By the time we hit adulthood, the pattern was exhausting. Ethan, now 26, had burned through 3 failed startups, leaving a trail of debt and excuses. Meanwhile, I was grinding, living in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment, saving pennies for a future I could barely see. I never resented Ethan for his dreams, just for how my parents acted like mine didn't matter. That's why, when I saw those lottery numbers line up, it felt like the universe was finally giving me a break. For the first time, I could pay off my loans, maybe buy a little cottage by the shore, and breathe without the weight of debt crushing me. But deep down, I knew my family wouldn't see it that way. Ethan's latest flop, an NFT scheme that tanked spectacularly, had left him $75,000 in the hole, with creditors breathing down his neck. I could already hear my parents' voices. Family helps family, Olivia. I wanted to believe they'd be proud of me, that they'd see this win as mine. But a nagging feeling told me they'd make it about Ethan, just like always. What I didn't expect was how far they'd go to make sure I shared my fortune. The moment I told them about the $10 million Everything I'd feared came true, and then some. Stick around, because what happened at our next family dinner set off a chain of events that led to that fiery moment in my living room and a twist that turned the tables in a way they never saw coming. That moment at the cafe, staring at those 7 matching numbers, felt like the ocean itself had parted just for me. $10 million, it was unreal. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped my phone into my coffee. I sat there, waves crashing outside, my mind racing with possibilities. No more student loans, a little house with a porch swing, maybe even a chance to cut back on hospital shifts and live a little. But before my family's demands turned that dream into a battle, I had a few hours of pure, giddy joy, and it started with my best friend, Mia. I called Mia, my rock since nursing school, and whispered, "Get over here now." I'm not kidding. 20 minutes later, she burst into my apartment, her eyes wide. "Liv, what's wrong? You sound like you saw a ghost." I didn't say a word, just handed her my phone with the lottery numbers and the ticket stub. She checked it, then screamed, "Oh my God, Liv, you're a multimillionaire. This is insane." We laughed until we cried, dancing around my tiny living room like kids. For the first time in forever, I saw a future where I wasn't drowning in $100,000 of debt or scraping by on ramen. Mia and I stayed up half the night, dreaming out loud, maybe a trip to Hawaii, maybe a fund to help other nurses like me. It felt like freedom. The next morning, reality kicked in. I called the North Carolina lottery office, and they told me to come to their Raleigh headquarters to verify the win. Mia drove because my nerves were shot. At the office, it was a whirlwind. Identity checks, tax briefings, financial counseling, and a big ceremonial photo with an oversized check for $10 million. The real money, they said, would hit my bank account in 10 days after processing. One official pulled me aside, her voice low. "Be careful who you tell, Olivia. Money changes people faster than you think." Her words stuck with me, but a part of me still hoped my family would be different. I should have listened. Growing up, I'd always been the afterthought to Ethan's golden boy status. His failed NFT venture was just the latest in a string of flops, racking up $75,000 in debt my parents were desperate to fix. I wanted to believe they'd be proud of my win, that they'd see me as more than the backup plan for Ethan's messes. So, against my better judgment, I decided to share the news at our monthly family dinner at my parents' house on Wrightsville Beach. I pictured them hugging me, maybe even apologizing for all the years they'd overlooked me. Instead, that dinner lit the fuse on a fight that led straight to my living room, where they'd try to burn my future to ashes. What they said when I told them about the $10 million wasn't just disappointing, it was the start of a betrayal I never saw coming. Keep listening, because what happened next pushed me to the edge and set up a twist that flipped everything upside down. Sitting in that lottery office, clutching the oversized check for $10 million, I felt like I'd finally caught a break after years of being the runner-up in my family's eyes. The official's warning, "Money changes people," echoed in my head, but I pushed it aside, hoping my parents would see this win as mine, not another chance to prop up Ethan's failures. Growing up in Wilmington, I'd watched them pour everything into my brother's dreams, his busted crypto schemes, his NFT flop that left him $75,000 in debt, while my nursing degree and $100,000 in loans were my own burden. I wanted to believe they'd celebrate me this time. So, I headed to our monthly family dinner at their beachside house on Wrightsville Beach, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and dread. What happened at that table wasn't just a letdown, it sparked a fight that would lead to them trying to burn my future to the ground. I got to my parents' place early, helping Mom chop bell peppers in the kitchen. The salty ocean breeze drifted through the open windows, and for a moment, it felt like any other Sunday. "You're quiet tonight," Mom said, eyeing me over her glasses. "Everything okay at the hospital?" I forced a smile, my stomach twisting. "Just got some big news. Let's wait for everyone." By the time Dad shuffled in from the garage and Ethan sauntered through the door, his phone glued to his hand, I was ready to burst. We sat around the oak dining table, the same one where I'd spent years hearing about Ethan's next big thing. I took a deep breath, my fork trembling in my hand. I've got something to tell y'all. Last week, I won the lottery. $10 million. The room went dead silent. Dad's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Mom's eyes widened, and Ethan's phone slipped onto the table with a clatter. For a split second, I thought they'd be happy for me. Then Mom leapt up, her chair scraping the floor. "Oh, honey, $10 million? Praise the Lord." She hugged me, something she hadn't done since I graduated high school. Dad grinned, shaking his head. "That's incredible, Liv. A real blessing." I let myself smile, thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd see me for once. But before I could even exhale, Ethan leaned forward, his eyes glinting. $10 million? Sis, we're gonna have some fun with this. My stomach sank. There it was, not even a full minute before it became about him. Dad cleared his throat, his tone shifting. Actually, this couldn't come at a better time. "Ethan, tell your sister what's been going on." Ethan put on his best puppy dog face, the one he'd perfected by 26. "It's not a big deal, really, but my NFT business hit a rough patch. Some bad investments, a couple lawsuits. I owe about $75,000. Creditors are circling, Liv." He flashed a grin, like he was asking for gas money. "But with your win, we can wipe that clean and get my next project off the ground." I stared at him, my throat tightening. $75,000, and he was acting like it was nothing. "Hold on," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I haven't even gotten the money yet. It's still processing. And what about my debts? My $100,000 in student loans? My rent? The life I've been piecing together while you've been chasing pipe dreams." Ethan's grin faltered, but Mom jumped in, her voice sharp. "Olivia, don't be selfish. Your brother's in trouble. Family helps family. You've got $10 million, $75,000 is a drop in the bucket. Selfish?" The word hit like a slap. I'd spent years working double shifts, eating instant noodles to make ends meet, while they funneled every spare dime into Ethan's flops. "Selfish?" I said, my voice rising. "What about when I begged for help with tuition? Or when I needed a car to get to work? Y'all told me to figure it out. But Ethan gets a free pass every time." Dad's face hardened. "That's different. Ethan's got potential. His business could take off with the right push. You're stable, Liv. You don't need all that money. Stable." The word stung. Stable because I'd clawed my way through life with no safety net. "I don't need it?" I fired back. "I've got $100,000 in loans eating my paycheck. I've got no savings, no house, nothing. Don't I deserve to take care of myself first?" Ethan leaned back, crossing his arms. "Wow, Liv. If I'd won, I'd share with you. That's what family does." The lie was so bold I almost laughed. 2 years ago, when Ethan got a $15,000 inheritance from our grandpa, he spent it on a Vegas trip and didn't even buy me a coffee. Mom's eyes narrowed. "Think of it as an investment, Olivia. Ethan's next venture could make millions. You'd be helping the whole family. An investment? Like his crypto scam that crashed in 6 months? Or the food truck he abandoned after 3? "An investment," I said, my voice bitter. "Like every other sure thing that's left him broke and you two bailing him out?" Ethan's face flushed. "That's not fair, Liv. This time's different. I've got a plan." I shook my head, my chest tight. "It's always different, Ethan. Until it's not." The table fell silent again, but the air was thick with tension. Dad leaned forward, his voice low and firm. "You've got more than enough, Olivia. You can pay off your loans and still help your brother. Don't make us beg." "Beg?" They weren't begging, they were demanding. I pushed my plate away, my appetite gone. "I haven't made any plans yet," I said, trying to keep calm. "The money's not even in my account. I need to talk to a financial advisor first." Mom scoffed. "What's there to talk about? Your brother's drowning. You're sitting on $10 million. I stood, my chair scraping the floor. "I'm not deciding anything tonight. This is my win, and I get to choose what happens next. As I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, Ethan called after me, his voice dripping with fake hurt. I can't believe you're turning your back on us, Liv. I didn't look back. Driving home, my hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I'd hoped for one night where I was the star, but they'd made it clear. My win was just another lifeline for Ethan. What I didn't know was how far they'd go to make sure I fell in line. That dinner was just the beginning, and the fight that led to them torching my ticket was about to get uglier. Driving away from that family dinner, my hands shaking on the wheel, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I'd walked into my parents' house on Wrightsville Beach hoping for a moment of pride, a chance to share my $10 million lottery win and maybe, just maybe, feel seen. Instead, I got demands to hand over $75,000 to bail out Ethan's latest flop, another NFT scheme gone bust. Their words, selfish, greedy, rang in my ears as I sped through Wilmington's quiet streets, the ocean air doing nothing to cool my anger. I'd stood my ground, told them I'd decide what to do with my money, but deep down, I knew they wouldn't let it go. What I didn't expect was how quickly they'd turn from guilt trips to full-on manipulation, pushing me toward a breaking point that would end with them trying to burn my future to ashes. The harassment started before I even got out of bed the next morning. At 6 a.m, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Olivia, Ethan's creditors called again. They're threatening to sue. You're our only hope. Please call me. I stared at the screen, my coffee going cold. Our only hope? Where was that urgency when I was drowning in $100,000 of student loans, working double shifts at the hospital to afford rent? I ignored the message, but by 7, Dad was calling. I let it go to voicemail, his voice booming through the speaker. Olivia, we raised you to put family first. Ethan's in real trouble. You're sitting on $10 million. Don't make us keep asking. Asking? It felt more like ordering. By noon, Ethan joined in, sending a long, emotional text. Liv, I know you're mad, but I'm scared. I owe $75,000, and these guys aren't playing. If you could just help me out, I swear I'll pay you back. Love you, sis. Pay me back? Like he'd paid back the thousands Mom and Dad had sunk into his crypto scams or that food truck he ditched after 3 months. I didn't respond, but the messages kept coming. Mom with more pleas, Dad with stern lectures, Ethan with sob stories. It was like they'd coordinated a full-court press to wear me down. I needed clarity, so I booked an appointment with Charlotte Evans, a financial advisor the lottery office recommended. Sitting in her sleek Raleigh office, I spilled everything: the win, my family's demands, my $100,000 debt. Charlotte, calm and no nonsense, laid it out. After taxes, you'll clear about $5.8 million. That's life-changing, but not infinite. First, secure yourself, pay off your loans, build an emergency fund, invest wisely. Then, if you choose to help family, set strict terms and document it. She paused, her eyes sharp. But Olivia, I've seen this before. The sooner you set boundaries, the better. Don't let guilt make your decisions. Her words were a lifeline, but my family wasn't done. That evening, I got a group text from Mom. Family meeting tomorrow at 6 at our house. Bring your lottery paperwork so we can plan Ethan's debt payoff and his new business. We love you. My blood boiled. A meeting they'd scheduled without asking, as if my $10 million were theirs to divvy up. I typed back, my fingers shaking. I'm not coming. My finances are private and my decisions are final. Minutes later, Dad called, his voice icy. You're being unreasonable, Olivia. After everything we've done for you, you're turning your back on your brother? You're no daughter of ours if you keep this up. His words cut deep, but they also lit a fire in me. No daughter of theirs? I'd spent my life chasing their approval, working harder to make up for being second to Ethan. Now, with $10 million in my grasp, they thought they could bully me into submission? I blocked their numbers for the night, but the pressure didn't stop. Ethan upped the ante, sending a video message at midnight. His face was tear-streaked, his voice shaky. Liv, I might lose everything. Creditors are talking about garnishing my wages, maybe even jail time. I know $75,000 is nothing to you now. Please, I'm begging. It was Oscar-worthy, but I'd seen this act before. Every time he needed a bailout, he played the victim. The next day, I went back to work at the hospital, trying to focus on patients, but my phone kept buzzing with texts from cousins, aunts, even neighbors' mom had roped into the campaign. Ethan's such a good kid. One read, "Help him out, live." It was relentless, like they were trying to drown me in guilt. I turned off my phone, but the weight of it all, Dad's threat, Ethan's crocodile tears, Mom's demands, made my shifts feel endless. I started parking in different spots at my apartment, worried they'd show up unannounced. Call it paranoia, but after that dinner, I didn't trust them to respect my space. Charlotte's advice kept me grounded, so I took steps to protect myself. I opened a new bank account for the lottery funds, separate from my regular one, and rented a safety deposit box for the ticket and paperwork. The real ticket, not the ceremonial one, was locked away, safe from prying hands. But my family wasn't slowing down. 2 days after the family meeting text, I got an email from Mom, forwarded to half the family. Olivia's refusing to help Ethan, even with $10 million. We're heartbroken she's choosing money over family. Heartbroken? They were airing my business to shame me into compliance. I was done playing nice. I replied to the email, copying everyone. My money, my choice. Ethan's debts are not my responsibility. Stop harassing me. For a moment, I thought that might end it, but I was wrong. Their next move wasn't just manipulative. It was reckless, and it set the stage for the moment they'd storm my apartment, light a match, and think they'd won. What they did next pushed me to a place I never thought I'd go, and the twist that followed turned their plan upside down. Keep listening, because the fight for my $10 million was about to get explosive. The days after that family dinner turned into a pressure cooker. My parents and Ethan had gone from guilt trips to outright harassment, bombarding me with calls, texts, and even a public shaming email, all to force me to fork over $75,000 of my $10 million lottery win to clean up Ethan's latest mess. I'd stood my ground, locked the real ticket in a bank vault, and followed my financial advisor Charlotte's advice to set boundaries. But as I drove home from a late shift at the hospital, the salty Wilmington air doing little to ease my nerves, I had no idea my family was about to cross a line I never thought possible. Their desperation to control my money led to a moment so reckless it would change everything, and a twist that left them stunned. It started with a bad feeling. After Mom's email blasted my selfishness to half the family, I'd installed a cheap security camera in my apartment, hidden in a bookshelf. Call it a hunch, but with Dad's threat, "You're no daughter of ours," and Ethan's tearful video begging for $75,000, I didn't feel safe. I'd also started crashing at my best friend Mia's place some nights, just to avoid surprise visits. But 4 days after I sent my "Stop Harassing Me" email, I needed to grab some work files from my apartment. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I figured everyone would be busy. Mom at her bookkeeping job, Dad at the hardware store, Ethan probably scheming his next flop. I parked outside my building, the seagulls circling overhead, and everything seemed normal. Until I unlocked my door, voices, low, heated, coming from my living room. My heart jumped to my throat. I crept forward, clutching my keys like a weapon, and peered around the corner. There they were, Mom, Dad, and Ethan, standing around my coffee table. In the center was a photocopy of my lottery ticket, the one I'd kept as a memento after securing the real one. Mom's face was twisted with a calm fury I'd never seen. Dad held a can of lighter fluid, and Ethan, his eyes darting nervously, clutched a pack of matches. "She's had her chance," Mom said, her voice cold. "If she won't help Ethan, she doesn't get to keep it." Before I could process, Dad doused the ticket with fluid, the sharp smell hitting my nose. Ethan struck a match, and Mom nodded. The flames caught fast, eating the paper as she screamed, "Now you'll help your brother, Olivia." I stepped into the room, my voice shaking with rage. What are you doing? They spun around, startled but not guilty. Dad's face hardened. You left us no choice, Olivia. If you won't share willingly, you'll share by force. Mom sneered, the burning ticket curling into ash on the table. This is your $10 million gone. Now you'll see what it's like to have nothing, like Ethan. I stood there, my pulse pounding, watching the flames die out. And then, something snapped inside me. I started laughing, first a chuckle, then a full, uncontrollable belly laugh that echoed off the walls. They stared, confused, as I wiped tears from my eyes. Why are you laughing? Mom snapped, her hands trembling. I caught my breath, still grinning. Because you idiots just burned a photocopy. The real ticket's been in a bank vault since day one. Their faces drained of color. Ethan's mouth fell open, the matches slipping from his hand. Dad growled, "You're lying. We saw the ticket in your drawer." I shook my head, pulling out my phone to open an email from the lottery office. See for yourself. Funds transfer scheduled for tomorrow. $10 million, safe and sound in a protected account. You destroyed a piece of paper. Mom staggered back, clutching the table. You tricked us? No, I said, my voice steady now. You tricked yourselves, thinking you could bully me into giving up my future. Ethan's voice cracked. Liv, we didn't mean save it, I cut him off. You broke into my home. You tried to destroy what I earned. And guess what? My security camera caught every second. I pointed to the bookshelf where the tiny lens blinked. Their eyes widened in panic. Dad stammered, We had a key. From when you were sick last year. A key for emergencies, I shot back. Not for breaking and entering. This is illegal, and you know it. Mom's face crumpled, but there were no tears, just shock. We were trying to save Ethan, she whispered. You were trying to steal from me, I said, my voice like steel. I marched to the door and flung it open. Get out. All of you. Now. Or I'm calling the police with this footage. Ethan took a step toward me, his hands up. Liv, please, let's talk out. I shouted, my finger on my phone's emergency dial. Dad grabbed Mom's arm, pulling her toward the door. Ethan followed, his head down, muttering, this wasn't supposed to happen. As they shuffled out, Mom turned back, her voice desperate. Olivia, we're your family. You can't do this. I stared her down. You did this. You showed me exactly who you are. I slammed the door and locked it, my hands shaking but my resolve ironclad. Standing in my smoke-scented living room, the charred remains of the fake ticket scattered on the table, I felt a strange mix of fury and relief. They'd gone too far, but I'd outsmarted them. The real $10 million was safe, and their plan had collapsed in flames. But this wasn't the end. They'd crossed a line, breaking in, destroying property, thinking they could force my hand. What I did next wasn't just about protecting my money, it was about protecting myself. The fallout from that fiery moment was coming, and the choices I made would rewrite my story in ways even I couldn't predict. Keep listening, because the consequences of their actions and the life I built from the ashes are where this story gets real. The smell of burnt paper lingered in my apartment as I stood by the locked door, my heart still racing from the sight of Mom, Dad, and Ethan torching what they thought was my $10 million lottery ticket. Their faces pale with shock when I revealed it was just a photocopy. The real ticket safe in a bank vault were burned into my mind. I'd caught their crime on my security camera, and their desperate excuses as I kicked them out echoed in the silence. They'd broken into my home, tried to destroy my future to save Ethan's $75,000 debt, and thought they could bully me into submission. But I was done being their doormat. That fiery moment in my Wilmington apartment was the end of their hold over me and the beginning of a new chapter where I took control. I didn't sleep that night. After they left, I called a locksmith to change every lock, my hands still shaking as I swept up the ashes of their stunt. I wasn't staying in that apartment, not after they'd violated my space with a spare key they'd abused. By morning, I'd packed a bag and headed to Mia's place, my best friend who'd been my rock since that giddy night we celebrated my win. They burned a fake ticket? Mia said, handing me a glass of wine as I collapsed on her couch. Liv, they've lost it. You're a badass for standing up to them. I managed a weak smile, but the weight of their betrayal sat heavy. I need to get out of here, I told her. Somewhere they can't find me. The next day, I met with a lawyer, Charlene Hayes, recommended by my financial advisor, Charlotte. Sitting in her office, I played the security footage, Dad dousing the ticket, Mom screaming, Ethan striking the match. Charlene's jaw tightened. This is breaking and entering, destruction of property, and attempted theft. You've got a strong case to press charges. I hesitated. Part of me wanted them to face the law, but another part just wanted them gone. Let's start with a restraining order, I said, and file a police report to document it. We did just that, listing their actions: unauthorized entry, tampering with my property, harassment. The report was my insurance, a paper trail in case they tried anything else. I wasn't taking chances with my $10 million either. The lottery funds were due to hit my new, secure bank account in 2 days, and I'd already moved all my paperwork to a safety deposit box. But my apartment felt like a crime scene now, so I started looking for a new place. By the end of the week, I'd signed a lease on a condo in a gated community overlooking Wilmington's waterfront. It was small but secure, with a view of the ocean that felt like a promise of peace. I moved in quietly, giving the address only to Mia and Charlene. My old life, the one where I answered to my family's demands, was over. Cutting them off wasn't easy, even after what they'd done. My phone still buzzed with texts from Mom. Olivia, we're your family. We made a mistake. Please talk to us. Dad's messages were sterner. You're tearing us apart over money. Ethan's were the worst, dripping with fake remorse. I didn't know they'd go that far, Liv. I just needed help. I didn't reply. I blocked their numbers, unfollowed them on social media, and set my email to filter their messages to spam. It hurt, God, it hurt, to shut out the people I'd spent my life trying to please. But every time I thought of that match flaring, I knew I'd made the right call. Mia kept me sane, dragging me out for tacos and bad action movies to keep my mind off it. You're free, Liv, she said one night, tossing popcorn at me. They can't touch you now. Free. The word felt foreign, but it was true. The $10 million was mine, safe from their grasp, and so was my future. But freedom came with a price. I'd lost my family, not because I'd chosen money, but because they'd chosen Ethan's failures over me. What I did next wasn't just about protecting my windfall, it was about building a life where I called the shots. The road ahead wasn't all smooth, but the strength I found in those ashes was just the start. Keep listening, because the life I carved out from this mess is where the Betrayal story begins. Locking the door of my new waterfront condo, the ocean stretching out beyond my balcony, I finally felt the weight of my family's betrayal start to lift. They'd broken into my old apartment, set fire to a fake $10 million lottery ticket thinking they could force me to bail out Ethan's $75,000 debt, only to learn the real ticket was safe in a bank vault. I'd outsmarted them, filed a police report, got a restraining order, and cut contact, moving to a secure place where they couldn't reach me. With the $10 million about to hit my account, I was done being their fallback plan. Now, standing in my new home, the salty Wilmington air filling my lungs, I was ready to build a life that was mine, smart, stable, and meaningful. The first thing I did was meet with Charlotte, my financial advisor, to map out a plan. Sitting in her Raleigh office, I watched her crunch numbers. After taxes, you're looking at $5.8 million, she said. Plenty to secure your future, but you've got to be disciplined. Her advice was clear: wipe out debt, build a safety net, invest, and only then think about splurges. So, I started with the basics. With one click, I paid off my $100,000 student loans, the weight of years of hospital shifts and ramen dinners vanishing in seconds. Next, I cleared my credit card debt, $5,000 from car repairs and medical bills. For the first time in my adult life, I owed nothing to anyone. Charlotte helped me set up a 6-month emergency fund and a diversified investment portfolio: stocks, bonds, a little real estate. "This is your foundation," she said. "It'll grow, but it'll also protect you." With that in place, I bought my condo outright, no mortgage, no landlord. It was modest, just one bedroom with a small balcony, but the view of the Atlantic felt like a promise of freedom. I furnished it simply: a cozy couch, a driftwood coffee table, a bed with crisp white sheets. Every piece was mine, chosen without my family's input. But I didn't want the money to just sit there, or worse, turn me into someone I didn't recognize. Growing up, I'd seen how Ethan's get-rich-quick schemes had twisted him, and I wanted my windfall to do good. So, I started the Ocean Horizon Fund, a nonprofit to offer free coding boot camps for Wilmington teens, especially kids from families like mine who couldn't afford fancy programs. I partnered with the local community college, hiring instructors and renting a small office downtown. The first class had 20 kids, their eyes wide as they built their first apps. One girl, a 16-year-old named Jada, told me this could get me to college. That moment hit harder than any paycheck. I also made quiet donations: $10,000 to a local women's shelter, $5,000 to a coastal conservation group saving Wilmington's beaches, and another $5,000 to a scholarship for first-generation nursing students. Giving back felt better than any luxury could. But I wasn't a saint. I allowed myself one indulgence: a small sailboat, a 20-foot sloop I named Freedom. On weekends, I'd take it out past the breakers, the wind in my hair, the horizon endless. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Work was another change. I loved nursing, but the grueling hours had worn me down. With my finances secure, I handed in my resignation at the hospital, staying on for 6 weeks to train my replacement. Walking out that last day, my scrubs swapped for jeans, I felt light, like I'd shed a skin. I wasn't done working. I threw myself into the Ocean Horizon Fund, planning to expand it to other coastal towns. The money gave me options, but it was the purpose that kept me grounded. Mia, of course, was there for it all. "You're killing it, Liv," she said one night, toasting with margaritas on my balcony. "From dodging your crazy family to running a nonprofit? That's badass." I laughed, but she was right. The $10 million hadn't just changed my bank account, it had given me clarity. I'd broken free from my family's toxic cycle, and now I was building something real. But the past wasn't done with me yet. Their actions had consequences, and what came next would test my resolve in ways I hadn't expected. Keep listening, because the fallout from that fire was just beginning. Standing on my condo balcony, the Wilmington waves crashing below, I felt anchored for the first time. I'd turned my $10 million lottery win into a new life, debt-free, running the Ocean Horizon Fund, sailing my boat Freedom. My family's attempt to burn my ticket, thinking they could force me to cover Ethan's $75,000 debt, had backfired spectacularly when I revealed the real ticket was safe. I'd moved, cut contact, and filed a restraining order, but their actions weren't done rippling. The fallout hit hard, and it showed me just how far I'd come. 2 weeks after the break-in, my lawyer, Charlene, called. "The courts ruled on your case," she said. "Your parents and Ethan owe $5,000 for damages, breaking and entering, destruction of property. The security footage of them torching the fake ticket sealed it." The judge also upheld the restraining order, barring them from contacting me. Local news caught wind, and Wilmington's gossip mill churned. Neighbors shunned Mom and Dad, whispering about their disgrace. I didn't celebrate, but I felt vindicated. They'd crossed a line, and now they faced the consequences. Then came a letter from Ethan, slipped under my old apartment door before the restraining order took effect. "Liv, I was selfish," he wrote. "I let Mom and Dad push me. I've started addiction counseling. Gambling's been my real problem. I'm sorry." I read it twice, torn between pity and skepticism. Ethan's apologies always came with a catch, but this felt different. I didn't write back. "Forgiveness doesn't mean trust," I told Charlene. I wished him well but kept my distance, my boundaries firm. Mom and Dad, though, doubled down. Aunt Clara, Mom's sister, called me. They're telling everyone you're heartless. Live, but I know the truth. They're drowning in debt, bailing Ethan out again. I sighed. Their choice, not mine. The legal battle and Ethan's letter closed a door, but they also opened my eyes. I'd built a life beyond their chaos, and protecting it meant staying firm. What came next wasn't just about moving on, it was about owning my story. Keep listening, because the final piece of this journey ties it all together. The sun dipped below the horizon as I sailed freedom off Wilmington's coast, the ocean stretching endless before me. A year after my family tried to burn my $10 million lottery ticket to force me to save Ethan's $75,000 debt, I'd built a life I never dreamed possible. Their plan crumbled when I revealed the real ticket was safe, leading to a restraining order, a $5,000 fine, and Ethan's faint steps toward accountability. I'd paid off my $100,000 loans, started the Ocean Horizon Fund, and found peace in my waterfront condo. But the real win wasn't the money, it was the clarity to rewrite my story on my terms. Standing on that boat, the wind in my hair, I realized the greatest wealth isn't a bank account, it's the courage to protect your peace. My family's betrayal taught me to set boundaries, even with those closest to you. You don't have to sacrifice your dreams to fix someone else's mistakes. I learned to value myself, not through others' approval, but through choices that honored my worth. Now, I'm expanding Ocean Horizon nationwide, teaching teens financial literacy and coding, giving them the tools I wish I'd had. It's my way of breaking the cycles my family couldn't. Life's quieter now. Mia and I still laugh over margaritas, planning a trip to Greece next summer. Ethan's in counseling, working a steady job, but we're not close, not yet. My parents' silence speaks louder than their old demands. I don't hate them, but I love myself enough to keep them at a distance. Sailing into that sunset, I felt free not just from debt, but from guilt and obligation. The $10 million opened doors, but my strength built the life behind them. So, here's my challenge to you. Protect your worth. Say no when it counts and build a life that's yours. If this story hit home, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment. What would you do with a win like this? My journey's proof that the biggest twist isn't the money, it's finding the power to put yourself first. Thanks for listening, and let's keep writing our own stories.